Senior living is not for everyone, as I found out when I was in sales myself for senior living a few years back. Choosing home care has many benefits for those who are not as social as others. Some decide to stay home. They're surrounded by memories, by personal belongings, by different things that contribute to emotional well-being.
Caretaker can identify that home is no longer that safe place, that maybe senior living is a better option. Well, welcome back to Spotlight. I have a special guest here today from Senior Alternatives. This is Veronica Sibley here to teach us about care management and home care services. And what does that mean in the world of geriatric care? And who can we go to when we have a need for a client or a loved one? Veronica, thank you for coming here today. I appreciate your knowledge and just everything you're about to share with us.
Thank you, Athena. It's a pleasure to be here. So great to see you.
Thanks. And it's great to see you like always. Now, I have like the most simplest question for our audience, which is what are the differences between non-medical home care and care management? They all seem so similar.
So while both home care services and care management services aim to support older adults, they do serve distinct purposes. So home care services typically focus on providing assistance with activities of daily living, such as meal preparation, bathing, dressing, med reminders, etc. So this type of care is often delivered at home or in a senior living community. On the other hand, care management services take a broader and more comprehensive approach. So care managers are experienced and licensed professionals like social workers or nurses who assess needs. They coordinate medical and non-medical services, and they're advocates for people's well-being. So they work closely with families to create custom care plans and address complex medical and logistical challenges. So they ensure that all aspects of care are going to be taken care of, and anything from financial planning to healthcare, and that they're aligned.
Ah, okay. So are care managers always like licensed? Is that a
For
thing?
the most part, yes. In our team, for instance, we have a licensed social worker, we have a gerontologist, we have, so yeah, it just depends, but you always want to look for those credentials, obviously.
Yeah, that makes sense. And in today's world, there, for the audience who may or may not know this, there are a lot of new pop-up home care providers. And so there's definitely a difference, which is why it's also so important that Veronica, you and I are having this conversation, because there's the difference between licensed, non-licensed, insured, not insured,
Right.
educated, experienced, especially with a lot of the pop-ups that we're having in this economy that we're in right now. I'm wondering what are the specific services that Senior Alternatives provides when it comes to like non-medical home care?
Yes. So our caregivers are trained. We ensure that we only hire experienced caregivers, and they support individuals with the following things: light housekeeping, laundry, transportation to appointments or errands or shopping. They do meal preparation, med reminders. They may go to the grocery store on their own. They're home organizers. They do tech support. And of course, physical assistance, like assistance with activities of daily living. Last year, when we held a holiday party here, I asked caregivers about their experience with clients, and one caregiver in particular said to me, I didn't know I was going to become a dog walker, an expert gardener, and tech support all at the same time. So that was really neat to hear, about their particular experience. But, our teams learn as they do. And of course, they're always trained again, and we ensure that they are trained before they go to someone's home. So,
In terms of non-medical home care, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, the services are kind of, they should be similar from one company to the next, like what you just described. That particular service should be pretty similar from one company to another. However, again, it's more of like the background and experience, consistency that you're looking for in a home care provider. Is that right?
yeah, I think that it depends on how the team is composed. Sometimes I know that some agencies out there may hire someone that just got here from a different country, for instance, right? And they just need a job and they get hired. And again, in our case, we ensure that people have worked for an individual for a couple of years, worked for a senior living community for a couple of years, and then they become part of our team after being fully vetted. So yeah, it just depends on the culture of the organization.
And we've seen so many different cultures, right? And that is really, really important when you're looking for a caregiver or care provider, that you are looking at the culture, you're looking at consistency, longevity, experience. This is really, really important. And there's home care, non-medical care. There's the home care managers, geriatric care managers, and is there a way that your care managers collaborate with home care providers so that you can ensure that there's comprehensive support for seniors? And I want to explain this a little bit to our audience because they may not be very familiar with what this means. We've got care team, right? Care providers, home care providers that do kind of what you just described, and then more of the elevated service like we talked about earlier. That's the care management part. And so they kind of manage more. They're a little higher skill set, if you will, and they can oversee things. They can oversee multiple different forms of care for that one senior. So it's really good for them to talk and to understand what one's doing, what the plan is. But for your team, are there home care providers that ensure that there is comprehensive support for seniors in aspect of like all care and your care management? Are they kind of working together?
Yes, and that's the unique aspect of our agency is that we combine both experienced caregivers with master's level geriatric social workers. So they work very closely together. So it starts with the creation of personalized care plans and ensuring that all aspects of well-being are being addressed for an elder. And so through regular communication with caregivers, care managers monitor progress. They adapt care strategies, they coordinate services such as medical appointments, therapy, follow-ups. So this teamwork ensures a holistic approach to care, fostering a complete healthcare experience for our clients. So in our case, our team of caregivers have the advantage because they have a knowledgeable team in our master's level care managers that supports them as caregivers. So in the event that any issues arise with a client that a caregiver is working with or a care plan, there's that team behind them to support them, people that they can reach out to, such as a nurse or an expert in memory care or a gerontologist. And so that is really key. And that is very unique. So this is 250 plus years of experience in their corner.
Wow. That's a lot. That's quite amazing. I don't know that there's other, I'm sure there are other home care agencies or businesses that have a lot of experience, but 250 years is it's a lot. Even for those people who are familiar with the industry, that is a lot of experience that your loved one or your resident or patient gets to have. So that does make it quite a big of an impact on the result of care, right? And the quality of life, I would say, definitely impacting their quality of life. For those that, is there a difference of care for seniors that may be in a senior living facility or community versus at home?
Yeah, so a caregiver that comes into someone's home offers one-on-one personalized attention. So this is tailoring to needs and preferences of an elder in their familiar setting. These arrangements allow for flexibility, can foster a deeper bond between the caregiver and the individual. On the other hand, caregivers in a senior living community tend to work with a group of residents at a time. So this is maybe a 1-to-8 ratio in some cases. So they're also adhering to strict and structure schedules.
Okay.
Caregivers are part of a large support network that includes community directors, other professionals, providing access to a broader range of resources and social opportunities for seniors in a community versus at home, it's more one-on-one support.
In your personal opinion and with your experience, Veronica, is there a difference in their behaviors or mental health or physical health when you're serving them in a different setting? Does it make a difference whether they're in home or in a senior living community?
Senior living is not for everyone, as I found out when I was in sales myself for senior living a few years back. So choosing home care has many benefits for those who are not as social as others, who seek to stay at home, maybe for financial reasons.
Mm.
So yeah, some decide to stay home. They're surrounded by memories, by personal belongings, by, you know, different things that contribute to emotional well-being. So it means a bespoke care plan and a safety net that
Mm.
makes it okay for people to be home. And so to a certain extent, home care reduces the stress often associated with transitioning to a new environment. Ultimately, home care ensures that people have the comfort that they need, the quality of care, while preserving a sense of normalcy and routine. So yeah, I think, there's definite advantages to both being at home and being in a community.
Yeah, and that makes sense. I've talked to other home care providers that have had patients in their home, and that's the goal, right? Just almost all people, I would say 90% of people want to age in their own home
Right.
in the comfort and familiarity of their own home. Completely understandable. So home care does play a really big part of helping them to stay in place and age in place a lot longer or permanently, right? But there are cases that your team member, your caretaker can identify that home is no longer that safe place, that maybe senior living is a better option. And what is nice is when you do have a senior living community or a facility, wherever they're going, you have a place that your caretaker is familiar with. And so they can transition with you to that new community, and they can offer someone, like you just said, it's a familiar face, it's consistent care. You already know what their needs are, so that transition is a lot smoother for that particular senior.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I really appreciate when those relationships are established, so that can happen. That's excellent. So I would say if there are seniors out there, or there's a loved one out there that is at home needing care or already has a caretaker, that there should be questions asked as far as what senior living communities are you familiar with as a caregiver, or do you network with and work with, so that if in the effect that we have to make that transition, we already know where we're going. We know what that next step is, and they know how to make that seamless.
And that often happens, with our clients where we've been with them for a long time, but they're no longer safe at home on their own.
Yeah.
They come to us and they ask for support in trying to find a community. And so, yeah, definitely those relationships are really key because we understand, we know, who provides great memory care, for instance, and, who provides beautiful environment and what is the food like. All of that is
Yeah.
really important to all of us. Yeah, to know.
Yeah, which is awesome. And I know Senior Alternatives is a great example. You guys are out there active in the community. You're all over the place. Everywhere I go, I see you out there. So you're very, very familiar and versed with the different options for seniors and where they can go, the different levels of care available for them. So that is wonderful. But that also brings me to another question. Can you explain the primary benefits of choosing a non-medical home care for one of your patients compared to other living arrangements? Are there specific benefits of having that home care versus going somewhere else? Is it just the fact of I get to age in place, I get to be in the comfort of my home, or is there more to that?
Yeah, sometimes, like I mentioned, it could be a financial situation. It could be that folks are not able to afford, moving to a community. So then
Mhm.
having some support come in is key. I
Yeah.
think often too, what happens is that family members may live far away. So when family members live far away, they reach out to agencies like ours because we can provide both the care management aspect and the home care piece, which is the caregiving piece. And so that is really a wonderful situation when you have an adult child that lives outside of the area and they're not able to be there to support someone at home or to check in on them. So then, having the combination of both the care management piece and the caregiving, that is really key for someone that has that situation as an adult child.
You mentioned the financial piece, which is really big, right? Not everybody has planned for needing care. Are there resources available for people to be able to get support for their care needs.
Yes. So one of the questions that I ask when people reach out and ask about home care services is if people have long-term care insurance policies.
Mm,
Because not only do they support home care services like what Senior Alternatives provides, but they also support living in a community. So a lot of times people don't know that that piece of the puzzle is there. Sometimes people have policies, but they have not looked at them in years. So they
yeah.
don't know that they can use those policies for both home care and also for living in a community. The same with VA Veterans Assistance. So that's another aspect where if someone is a spouse of a veteran or if someone has served in the military in the past, they have monies set aside for folks to be able to use and move into a community and pay for part of that fee. And so that's wonderful support for elders out there.
To your knowledge, is there kind of a cutoff with that care, like support financially, or is it different, but based on the insurance plan for everyone?
Yes, I think it has to do with the policy because some policies are covering a daily expense.
Hmm.
Others have a limit. So it just depends on how old that policy is.
Yeah.
Depends on, yeah, that's how that
It's
goes.
also a good reminder that we need to review our long-term care policies, making sure we have them.
That's
Um,
right.
right? So important. Things that we don't always think about. What happens if, and that's not even just for elderly. This is for everybody, right?
Yes.
Yeah, really important. I think we see this so much in the geriatric world that we are more cognizant of this is a great need. This is something we need to be responsible for and make sure we are getting the things that we could potentially use now and in the future. Not everybody thinks that way because they're not around it all the time. But really important is that long-term care plan. Are there different kind of levels of services that you offer for people if like they're more independent versus assisted versus memory care? Do you work with people that have early onset dementia, Alzheimer's, things like that? What does that look like for you?
Our approach is centered around providing a tailored support system. So that respects each client's preferences and abilities. So for those who are highly independent, we offer personal assistance versus caregivers, as an example, meaning that they will support with tasks other than physical support. On
Mm.
the other hand, for clients that require more physical assistance, our comprehensive plans will focus on safety, comfort, and filling the gaps in between what a client can and cannot do on their own. So it is a personalized approach and we address everyone's needs and lifestyle. And so to your point of memory support, when we have a client that comes to us and says, okay, mom has, beginning stages of Alzheimer's, or she's been living with Alzheimer's for 7 years, but now we really need someone to support her, then we're going to go to our database of caregivers, and we're going to see who is an expert in memory support, who understands redirection, who understands the needs of someone with memory loss. And that's the person that we will match with that care plan for this particular individual. So yeah, that's how we work on that.
I like that. I mean, it's just if we think about it, it's just like if we have a PCP, or anyone taking care of our health, we have to be treated individually. It can't be the same as everyone else. So I love that Senior Alternatives does that, making sure that you're treating the individual for the individual needs or desires, right? Because there's a lot of things people just want versus a need. And I think home care is a great option for wants in addition to needs. Veronica, are there any challenges that you can foresee up with this upcoming year for Senior Alternatives, other caregiving companies, particularly in the senior living industry and with the home care sector?
This brings up a conversation that our ED had with a client recently, and this client was uncertain about market conditions in her investment portfolio, which is leading her to tighten the purse strings a bit. So economic instability or unpredictability can result in reduced non-essential services, including home care or specialized health services. So agencies may face increased scrutiny over costs and demand of greater transparency in pricing. So this shift in client behavior requires us to demonstrate value and provide flexible options that align with those tight budgets. So building trust and emphasizing cost-effective solutions will be key to maintaining those client relationships during these periods of uncertainty.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's great that you guys are forward thinking, and planning for this. Are there partnerships that you feel are great partnerships for you to help you succeed in your industry, but also to help your clients succeed in their overall holistic health and well-being?
Yeah, as an example, a reverse mortgage, for instance. There are many people out there
Mm,
that don't understand what a reverse mortgage does. And they've
yeah.
changed throughout the years. What a reverse mortgage was 15, 20 years ago is not the same today. So I think that that's one partnership that is really key if someone does want to stay home, or if someone wants to, just get some money for different things that they need or what have you. That could be an avenue. Also, connections with realtors. When people
Yeah.
come to the point in time where they have to move and they're, choosing a community. And so how do they deal with their stuff that they've had for 40 years at home? So we need organizers and we need great realtors that are senior certified. And so all of those folks are part of our networks, and we are happy to have them and be able to refer to people like that to help support changes.
That's awesome. And you even mentioned there's like funding options, right? So those the VA is a great option, great partner to have. There's others that can help with insurance plans and benefits. So that's great partners. And I know that you already network with professionals like this. And as I mentioned earlier on in the podcast, there also are other partners, right? There's a ton of home care. And so I would think, and you tell me what your thoughts are, that even partnering with other not long term, but other home care agencies that have been in the industry for a long time, just in case maybe they have a little bit of a different expertise than what you have, or maybe you're full and they're not full and they can take on new clients. I would imagine that those partnerships are great to have as well.
Oh, absolutely. Especially because we provide services in Alameda County and Contra Costa County, but oftentimes people will call us and their family members live elsewhere. Maybe they're in San Francisco, or maybe they're in, say, Antioch, Brentwood, areas that we typically don't support. So
Mhm.
yes, that's when I reach out to other home care agencies that I know I can trust and provide those names and numbers to the people calling on us if we are not able to provide the level of support that they need, or due to the area we can't manage that. So then yes, I do give resources such as that to people, because yeah, I never let someone go away empty-handed. I
That's
always
awesome.
make sure that they have what they need. Yes.
And we did talk a little bit about emerging home care agencies, and I don't want to say that they're all bad. I'm just saying that there's just a lot of them. I feel like there was, and you could go into this more than I can, but I feel like there was a little bit of unrestricted kind of licensing on that. And so there was just a lot of people that see that there is a growing need, right? There's this huge surplus of baby boomers retiring and people aging, and we do need care. And so there people are seeing this as an opportunity, not a bad thing. We're going to need caregivers. We're going to need the support. So there are some great reputable new companies coming out. There's some that are questionable, as in any industry, but then we also like to lean on our partners that we've known have been here for a very long time. But with that being said, are there things that we need to watch out for, trends that we need to watch out for if I have a resident that I know needs a caregiver, or a family member knows that they need a caregiver for their family? What should they be watching out for?
So as far as trends, trends is one aspect of it. I think that you pinpoint a couple of things, which is longevity, right? It's in our case, we're going to celebrate our 30th anniversary this year in September. So that's a
Wonderful.
milestone. So yeah, there's well established, tried and true, trusted. So all of those things come into play. And so, yeah, and sometimes when you have newer agencies, they don't have that background. So then what is it that makes them unique? So there's unique aspects to agencies. There's also, you know, the long-term effect, right? How
Yeah.
long they've been in business. So all of that are things that people need to look for. And I think also when you talk about emerging, talk about trends. So there's advances in technology that pose both opportunities and challenges for agencies. So, you know, some of us may need to invest more, others need to invest, you know, a greater deal. I'll give you an example. For our caregivers, they use an app to clock in and out to their assigned shifts. So we're able to pinpoint location when they do this, which tells us if they've arrived at their destination on time. So I'm sure we can improve upon that, you know, as the years come, but it will take a financial investment to do so. So balancing that personalized care with efficiency in a competitive market will remain, you know, a crucial challenge requiring innovative solutions. So there's a few aspects to what you're describing for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the audience needs to understand too that this technology, these trends with technology and the use of it, it's a benefit to them, right? It's a benefit to the client. It's cost savings for the client. It's also security for the client that they know that they or their loved one is getting the care that they're actually paying for, and they're not overpaying for care that isn't truly taking place. But they know that somebody's there. And so that's a peace of mind that I can really appreciate. Um, we kind of talked a little bit about family members and family members being involved with the decision making and being part of that process for a loved one getting home care. Um, but is there anything out there, any resources that family members, even other professionals can tap into to find where is the home care providers near them? How do they know who the reputable ones are? And how to make those decisions?
How to make those decisions. Yes, absolutely. So daughters and sons are the first people that we typically talk to. You know, they participate in the plan creation by sharing their insights about their loved ones and preferences and routines, unique needs, all of that. So, you know, that's a very hands-on piece to the puzzle. And so what people can do is with going online, for instance, you know, with reviews that are out there, you want to check those, checking for certifications, accreditations to ensure high standards for agencies. And there's a myriad of info out there to help families about shared experiences. You know, when you think of reading reviews, for instance, right, that allows a family that's searching to know, is this a great source? What was their experience? What does that mean for me? You know, you can gather insights from what you can read out there. And there's a lot of that, which is really great. We, for instance, put out a blog on different germane topics, which is archived on our website, for example. And I think a lot of organizations do that. So reaching out to healthcare professionals such as doctors or social workers, they can provide valuable recommendations tailored to specific needs. And as always, word of mouth. Word of mouth is the best way to gain knowledge and, you know, get an idea as to what to do next or who to go to. So word of mouth is always the best form of advertising and gives a great perspective for a personal experience that you can learn from. So
Absolutely. And we love word of mouth. We all do. That's like you said, that is the best method to find out who's reputable, what's a client's experience firsthand, and what are the resources available to us. With that, Veronica, would you please share with our audience a little bit about how to get a hold of you if they have more questions, they need help for a loved one or themselves in the East Bay area? And then what are some of the options if they're outside of the East Bay area?
yes, and so our website is www.bayareaseniorcare.com. And our office number is 510-482-3379. And we are centrally located here in Berkeley on San Pablo Avenue. And as far as outside of the area, one of the agencies that we typically go to is Sage Elder Care, for instance, because they're like in the peninsula, for instance. So I have a couple of different agencies that I use whenever people ask for a San Francisco or a Marin, I guess,
Base care.
recommendation.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so I have a really great list of resources if people are looking for support in different areas in the Bay Area.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I've appreciated this conversation, just getting insights into home care, home health care, geriatric care. What does this all mean? And I know our audience learned a few tidbits about this as well. I thank you again, Veronica, for your time. I can't wait to learn more from you, and I am just privileged to have you in our area serving our seniors.
Athena, has been my pleasure.